Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, 9/11, and I'm sitting in Australia. I'm sitting inside today because it's fairly windy where I live, somewhat like, a mild hurricane wind strength. And I decided in order for this video to record properly that it was better to be done inside. For the last couple of months at least, I've thought a lot about how do I communicate my sentiment about the events that are nearly 20 years ago that happened in New York City. And one of the things that comes to mind is the fact that whomever caused the level of destruction that affected so many people and their families and generations to come used their positional power and their personal power in the worst possible way. If we listen to conspiracy theories, if we think badly about governments in power, if we think about terrorist organisations and their destructive agenda, there's all sorts of root causes that we can identify for something like that to happen. However, when we boil it down to true root cause, we're talking about individuals making choices. Now, I'm the first one to check myself, and I do that because I expect the very highest standard from myself, and I don't cut myself very much slack at all. And I talk about that in various of my books. And I do that for a particular reason, God knows why. And I say that in all sincerity, God knows why. And I expect that people will at least reflect when I speak about personal choices. Personal power is something that we all have. We have the capacity to understand how the electromagnetic channeling occurs in our bodies, how we respond emotionally to situations, whether we store baggage, emotional baggage, and therefore build anger over time, whether we allow ourselves to heal, whether we forgive ourselves and others and move forward and remove the victim mindset. So, everybody has that capacity from the second that they're born. In fact, when children are in utero, when a child's in utero, there is that capacity to build personal power. Now, positional power comes at all levels. As individuals, we have positional power just by being a live human being. We have a position within whole of humanity. And what we do, if you think about the 1 and 2 degrees of separation, what we do will impact on other people. There is nothing that we can do in total isolation. Every word that we speak, every action that we take, and inaction that we don't take, or words that we don't speak, have an impact on other people. And the volume of that impact, the strategic spread of that impact, the bigger the ripples on the pond, whether we create tsunamis or whether we just create gentle ripples, we do that as members of humanity in every single decision we make every day. And that's why it's important for parents to teach their children about using their power, their innate power, in good ways, not bad. When I think about 9/11, at various times in my life since 9/11, I've thought about, gosh, where would I have been on that day in New York City if I had actually gone to work in uptown Manhattan, where I was due to work in 1981. And I think, would I have been in the World Trade Center on that day had I been in America at that time, living in the United States? And the what ifs allow us time to work out, if we were doubtful before, whether the decisions that we made at the time were the right decisions. And sometimes we can't come up with an answer. Sometimes we make decisions in life that we don't understand the implications of, and that can be for a number of reasons. Sometimes we don't have the worldliness to understand the implications of what we say and do. Sometimes we don't have all the facts, so we can't make the right decisions. Sometimes we're forced to do things that we don't want to do. But ultimately, positive use of personal power combined with positive use of positional power is the very best outcome for humanity. And above all things, what I want you to understand is that I will always advocate for people to be selfless, to be discerning, to risk manage situations really carefully so they don't screw up intentionally. And today, of all days, even though Australia is, somewhere between 12 and 18 hours ahead of the United States, as time zones in the US, 9/11 impacted everybody in the world. I know exactly where I was when I heard the news of what had happened with the first plane that appears to have flown into the First World Trade Center. I watched on television as I saw the Second World Trade Center be destroyed at the very top, and I watched as those buildings came down. And my heart still goes out to every single person who was impacted as a result of that disastrous event. Nobody in the world should be subjected to that kind of destructive, negative use of personal and positional power. Every human being on earth deserves the right to live in peace and harmony, with courtesy, human to human, with empathy, with compassion, with forgiveness. Now, of all the things that I could have read out of No Boxing Allowed, I want to read a couple of one-line statements. Throughout this book I make, and I'll show you the page, I make statements that are sort of like little thought joggers, and as you read through, you can pick up on that statement. It's bolded, it's capitalized, so that if that's like a takeaway point. And all the way through this book, and also in the second book that I wrote, these are the things that you can flick through the pages and kind of reflect on yourself and use the power of the words to change your choices to a more positive choice. The two statements I'd like to read are: change is always an opportunity, never a threat. And I will suggest to you that your ability to make right choices is a change that you will never regret. The second point is the most sustainable motivation comes from within. Now, this particular chapter is chapter 10, and it's titled Using Personal Power to Re-Engineer Your Thinking and Reprogram Your Mind to the Positive. And I talk a lot about the book, in the book, about people as they get older, if they haven't let go of their emotional stuff, if they haven't cleansed themselves and exfoliated their baggage at an emotional and deeply spiritual level, you get to a point in life where sometimes it's 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, people get angry, they get sarcastic, they get negative beyond comprehension. They play the victim card. They're always feeling sorry for themselves. Everybody's doing the wrong thing and they're not to blame. And that's the sort of thing that I advocate to you. You can change by willfully deciding to make your thinking processes more positive. And this book is all about how to help you to re-engineer your mind to the positive. The most sustainable motivation comes from within is kind of points to what we used to learn in leadership training, was that, good leaders motivate their people. Well, I don't agree with that. Good people motivate themselves. Don't look to others, as is written in these pages, don't look to others to motivate you, because the strongest use of your personal power is to motivate yourself from within and sustain your motivation. Don't use somebody else or a situation as a crutch to motivate you to keep moving forward. The motivation that comes from within is one of those positive changes that you can make, and you will never regret it. I'm going to write a little piece and put that on letterhead, as I do every 9/11, and I'll probably combine the two when I post this to YouTube and to social media. I think so close to the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and those awful events, we really need to look hard at how, as a humanity, we are treating one another. I don't like the fact that people fight. I don't like the fact that people argue incessantly. I don't like the anger, the bitterness, the lack of forgiveness, the rhetoric that's all about, we have to hold that person accountable and we're never going to forgive them and we're going to hate them for the rest of our lives. That H word is a really, really, really destructive word. Forgiveness is key. Learning to love yourself despite setbacks is key. Learning to forgive yourself and others for the decisions that were made that had adverse impacts, that's critical to do in order to live a life of peace and love and harmony and compassion. I'd like you to reflect on that, and next week I'm going to introduce some sections of my autobiography, and I'm going to read part of my autobiography and talk through the strategic changes that I think people can make. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to hearing from you through our website. Please like and subscribe. And I hope you have a really nice week. And I hope that those who are impacted by 9/11 today and over the weekend through the remembrance ceremonies, I hope you know that you're getting virtual hugs from a lot of people around the world. Have a wonderful weekend and a great week. Bye for now.